Kuechly was a football genius. He was so good at reading offenses that he'd be in the backfield before anybody could block him. As quarterbacks made their checks and audibles pre-snap, he'd be right there with them, adjusting his defense to perfection. Opponents were amazed and frustrated by Kuechly's ability to call out their plays at the line. But how did he become the smartest linebacker the NFL has ever seen? And why did he leave the game in the prime of his career?
That's what I want to know.
The road to outsmarting NFL offenses started when Kuechly was just a kid. He always understood the game on a deeper level, and what he lacked in
I didn't even want to play linebacker, but I wanted to be Luke Kuechly when I seen Luke Kuechly. I'm not even gonna lie.
athleticism, he made up for it with intellect. When he got to high school at St. Xavier in Cincinnati, Ohio, he helped make them a powerhouse. His coach, local legend Steve Specht, introduced Kuechly to the foundation of the mental game, film study, and the youngster was a quick learner. According to Specht, Luke understood every position on the field and was always a step ahead of everyone else. So Kuechly was an all-everything player. As a junior, leading St. Xavier to a 15-0 record and a state title. Then, as a senior, establishing himself among the best high school linebackers in the country. But as college approached, his recruiting stock was low. You see, Kuechly was only 200 pounds soaking wet, and he wasn't yet the thumper we knew him as in the NFL. And because of that, he was rated as just a 3-star recruit and the number 44 outside linebacker prospect in the class of 2009. But there was some interest, and Kuechly's choice came down to 4 academic powers: Stanford, Duke, Virginia, and Boston College. He eventually went to BC because it was a Catholic institution similar to St. Xavier and a pipeline for a lot of St. X players before Luke, so it just made sense. But he still had to go out and prove himself. He said that early on, he got his teeth kicked in by his grown man teammates.
I went in there, I was 18 years old, playing against guys that are 22, 23. You get your teeth kicked in and you figure out how bad you want to do it.
Fortunately, while that was happening, he was being schooled on how to play the college game by a great tutor. Wes Davis was a defensive back at BC, and he sat with Kuechly in the film room for hours on end and showed him how to break down an opponent. And in almost no time, Kuechly's powers of observation were superhuman. Armed with that mental edge, he became a playmaker from his outside linebacker position. And as a freshman, he was named the ACC's Defensive Rookie of the Year. In his sophomore year, BC had a hole at inside linebacker, and the coaches believed that Kuechly could fill it. Now, Luke wasn't so sure, but he wanted to keep playing, so he committed to learning the position. And this is when he became a tackling machine. Over his 3-year career at BC, Kuechly set
So he ain't started at linebacker, or do they say? I might have heard that wrong.
Had a hole at inside linebacker, and the coaches believed that Kuechly could fill it. Now, Luke wasn't so sure, but he wanted to keep playing, so he committed to learning the position. And this is when he became a tackling machine. Over his 3-year career at BC, Kuechly set program records for career tackles with 532 and single-season tackles in his junior year with 191. And after his junior masterclass of a season, Kuechly was ready to pursue a PhD in football by playing in the NFL.
Oh! He had almost 200 tackles in 12 games, 13 games.
And talent evaluators loved what he brought to the table. According to the league's pre-draft profile, Kuechly was one of the most instinctual and technically sound linebackers to come out of the draft in years. He had all the tools to be an immediate starter in the NFL and shore up the entire defense. But during his time at BC, he didn't make a ton of plays at the line of scrimmage. So there was some concern. Could he be physical enough to survive in the pros? And it was just a matter of time before they found out.
The Carolina Panthers select Luke Kuechly, linebacker, Boston College.
The Panthers' head coach at the time was Ron Rivera, and Rivera knew NFL defense. He was a linebacker for one of the greatest defenses ever, the 1985 Chicago Bears. And before being hired by the Panthers, he was a defensive coordinator for the Bears and the San Diego Chargers. And now he had Luke Kuechly, who he could mold into the quarterback of the Carolina defense. But Luke didn't take on that role right away. The Panthers already had a tremendous middle linebacker, John Beeson. So after the draft, they moved Kuechly back to the outside. And just as he did in college, Kuechly learned the pro game from older teammates. Guys like Beeson, outside backer Thomas Davis, tight end Greg Olson, and DB Captain Munnerlyn. But even they couldn't prepare Luke for the career-defining moment that came next. After week 4, Beeson went to the sideline with a knee injury, and 2 weeks later he underwent season-ending surgery. And just like that, Kuechly was put into an extremely difficult spot. He was tapped in to fill Beeson's role as the center of the defense. That's a lot for anyone, much less a 21-year-old rookie, but he handled it like a seasoned pro. He basically lived in the film room, and when Sundays rolled around, he was an absolute playmaker. Playing in all 16 games as a rookie, Kuechly led the NFL with 164 tackles. He also intercepted 2 passes. And with him as the anchor, the Panthers' defense improved. In 2012, Carolina went from 27th in the league in scoring defense to 18th. After the season, Kuechly was voted NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year over another talented linebacker, Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks. But would Kuechly be
I ain't know Bobby Wag and Luke Kuechly was in the same draft.
just a one-season wonder? He didn't have the athleticism to match some of the other great backers in the game. Would offenses adjust and expose him? The answer to that was an emphatic no. In Kuechly's second year, he took his game to the highest level. Once again, starting in all 16 games in 2013, Luke recorded 156 tackles and snagged 4 interceptions. With him calling the shots, the Panthers allowed the second fewest points in the league. And on the back of their elite defense, Carolina finished the season 12-4, winning the NFC South for the first time in 5 years. Kuechly made himself impossible for award voters to ignore, as he was named first-team All-Pro and NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. After just
I didn't know he got one. I never knew he got Defensive Player of the Year. He got one. I ain't gonna lie, he was a tackling machine, bro. I ain't even gonna care. That nigga tackling anything that
seasons, Kuechly was already a star. Inside the Panthers facility, he was the defense's North Star, and he relentlessly put in the work to be great. During the week, Kuechly would regularly log 12-hour days, with the last 2 to 3 hours devoted to film study. He needed intel on what the other team was going to do on game day.
I wasn't a good enough athlete to just go out there and play.
Yeah.
I needed to have an advantage, and I needed to have a feel for what was going on.
Hall of Fame coach Tony Dungy once compared Kuechly's preparation to that of Peyton Manning, the ultimate film study guy. Dungy said Kuechly was one step ahead of everyone else.
Guy that is totally prepared, that is going to know what's going to happen before it takes place because he has studied so much.
And once Luke knew the play, he was ready to pounce as soon as the ball was snapped. Davis saw it firsthand.
You'll see a lot of times teams come out in certain formations, and as soon as the ball is snapped, Luke run right to the play.
But some of his teammates didn't always appreciate his detective skills. Olsen, for one, hated going up against Kuechly in practice.
You couldn't practice against him because you'd ruin practice. He knew every play that you were going to run.
Olsen claimed the Panthers' offensive assistants would ask Rivera to take Kuechly off the field before they practiced a trick play, just so he wouldn't blow it up.
They're like, bro, get him off the field, man. Niggas can't even practice right.
And the work he put in the film room and on the practice field showed up on game days. 2014 was another elite season for Kuechly as he led the league in tackles and was named first-team All-Pro for the second time in 3 seasons. But despite Luke establishing himself as the NFL's premier linebacker and the Panthers having a top defense, they were still missing the postseason success. They'd won their division 2 seasons in a row now, but couldn't make it past the divisional round. Then, in 2015, everything changed. The Panthers were peaking as a team. On offense, Cam Newton had an MVP season. And on defense, Luke Kuechly was as good as ever. On Thanksgiving Day, his football genius was on full display for a national audience against the Cowboys. Late in the second quarter, the Panthers had a blitz call on, but Thomas Davis showed it too early. Cowboys QB Tony Romo responded by calling an audible. Kuechly countered that by changing the defense. Then came one of the signature plays of his career. As Romo dropped back to pass, Cowboys QB Tony Romo responded by calling an audible. Kuechly countered that by changing the defense. Then came one of the signature plays of his career. As Romo dropped back to pass, Kuechly ran with tight end Jason Witten down the middle. Then, anticipating where Romo was going with the ball, he broke off the coverage and took an interception to the house.
So he cut right down the hash, and I'm like, that's not a route. So then you push through that, and then that guy ran a sit, and I was like, I'm just going to jump. I'm going to jump the dig and hope they run a dig.
Kuechly intercepted Romo on the Cowboys' next series, too, showing America what Panthers fans had seen his entire career. A player capable of outsmarting even veteran quarterbacks. The Panthers were a juggernaut that season, finishing the year 15-1 as the best team in the NFL. On top of that, they finally had success in the playoffs. First, beating the Seahawks in the divisional round in a game where Kuechly had 11 tackles and a pick six. Then in the NFC Championship against the Arizona Cardinals, Kuechly stole the show once again, this time with 8 tackles, a fumble recovery, and yet another pick six, en route to a 49-15 blowout.
Bro. Is Kuechly not gonna make it in the Hall of Fame? We gotta talk about this, bro. Is he not a Hall of Famer?
And the Super Bowl would be a matchup between the two greatest brains the NFL has ever seen. Luke Kuechly and the Panthers taking on Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. The Panthers defense held Denver to just 194 yards of total offense. But the Broncos defense, led by Super Bowl MVP Von Miller, was the difference, as Denver won 24-10. Kuechly was phenomenal once again, leading the game in tackles and recording a sack. But it wasn't enough. After just 4 seasons in the NFL, Kuechly had been to a Super Bowl, was a first-team All-Pro 3 times, and won 2 major individual awards. Captain America, the name given to him by Cam Newton, looked invincible.
Never doubt, never doubt. As long as we got Captain America, Luke, August Kuechly on our team.
But his body was saying something different.
America? No, that's a great nickname. Imagine a 6'6", 280 mutant of a man calling you Captain America. That is insane.
In 2015, Kuechly suffered the first concussion of his career. He claimed it was his first concussion ever, and it caused him to miss 3 games. In Week 17 of that year, he also suffered a shoulder injury that required surgery. And then, in 2016, a terrifying on-field incident altered the course of Kuechly's career. In Week 11, against the Saints, Kuechly took on New Orleans running back Tim Hightower. And unfortunately, the crown of Hightower's helmet hit Kuechly squarely in the face mask. The play didn't look all that dangerous, but it left Kuechly sitting on the ground, dazed and confused. As the trainers rushed to check on their star, Kuechly was sobbing uncontrollably. He didn't know why he was crying, he just knew that something was wrong with him.
I remember sitting on the field, and I was like trying to figure out what was going on with me.
As Kuechly was loaded onto the cart, the tears kept flowing, making the scene that much sadder. All around pro football, people were heartbroken as they watched, fearing that this could be the end for one of the game's brightest stars. Doctors diagnosed Kuechly with a grade 3 concussion, the most severe. He missed the final 6 games of the 2016 season while he was kept in the NFL's concussion protocol. Luke was so good to start the season that he was still named a second-team All-Pro, but that was now 2 major head injuries in as many seasons. How much longer could Kuechly play? In 2017, he was back on the field for Week 1. And over the next 3 years, he looked like the old Luke Kuechly. Each season, his tackle total increased, and he was an All-Pro all 3 years, twice being named to the first team. Kuechly was the definition of an Ironman, playing 48 out of a possible 49 games, including the playoffs. But that one missed game in the 2017 season was due to another concussion. He was up to 3 in 3 seasons. UNC professor Dr. Kevin Guskowitz, who worked with the NFL and conducted extensive research on brain injuries, told Sports Illustrated that the 3rd concussion increased the risk of long-term damage. Kuechly also suffered another shoulder injury in 2017 that required surgery. In 2018 and 19, he got through the season unscathed. But as the 19 season was ending, the battered superstar came to the conclusion that he couldn't go on. The injuries had taken too much out of him, and he couldn't accept playing at 70% of what he was at his peak. It felt unfair to his teammates, so he made a painful decision. In January of 2020, after 8 spectacular seasons, Luke Kuechly retired from the NFL at age 28.
One way to play this game since I was a little kid is to play fast and play physical and play strong, and at this point, I don't know if I'm able to do that anymore.
Ultimately, his greatest asset his entire...
So it was concussions, bro. Dang, that's crazy, man. 8 years, imagine 3 more years of that, 4 more years, bro.
Her career was his brain,
Immortal.
and now it was time to protect it before it was too late.
And I just wanted to make sure that I could live the life I wanted to live when I got done playing.
But just because he was done playing didn't mean he was leaving football entirely. In 2020, the Panthers hired him to be a scout. It seemed like an ideal role. He could keep watching tape and studying other players. But Kuechly only did it for a year. It just wasn't for him. Then came an opportunity that took him full circle, teaching ball to a new generation of players. He became an assistant coach for a middle school football team in Charlotte, alongside former teammates Greg Olson and Jonathan Stewart. Then, in 2022, Kuechly rejoined the Panthers organization, but in an entirely different capacity. This one allowed him to make fans smarter. He was hired as a part-time color commentator on the team's radio broadcasts. From the booth, he could diagnose plays in real time and impart his vast football wisdom. Then, in January 2025, as he finished his 3rd season behind the mic, he was named as a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his 1st year of eligibility. And while he wasn't made a Hall of Famer this time around, there's no doubt that his resume is worthy of a bust in Canton. He was
Who made it over Luke Kuechly? I gotta know the names who made it.
An All-Pro in every season of his career except for his first, when he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was a Defensive Player of the Year, and perhaps his greatest accomplishment is that he's unanimously known as the smartest defensive player to ever lace him up.
Bro, first of all, he was called Captain America by Cameron Jarrell Newton, who's 6'6", 280. And the fact that he didn't make it first ballot Hall of Famer, what's going on, man? He didn't know what first, he didn't know what not being an All-Pro was. He didn't know what that was, bro. He didn't know what less than 150 tackles was. Like, how is he not a first ballot Hall of Famer, bro? What's going on, bro? That's crazy, man. Look, man, like, comment, subscribe, bro. Y'all want to see more videos like this, man? More football videos where I break stuff, where we watch some people break stuff like down like this, man. Let me know in the comments, man. But let me know in the comments y'all think Luke Kuechly the first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he is. He one of the best linebackers that ever do it. But I'm gonna see y'all next video, man. Y'all already know what's going on, man. No cap.